it's really this thing of know your customer, right? Like who is your customer and what do they care about? And how can you really authentically empower them to take action? Because I think a lot of younger people nowadays, they lack a feeling of agency, because the problems that we all face are so big. It's hard as an individual to like feel that there's anything that I can do about it.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Andrew Berkowitz. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, Zev. Thanks for having me on.
I am so excited. You and I have had a couple of conversations, and I already consider you a good friend. Let me share with everybody how I found you and your amazing company, ValuesCo. So I was in the last CES, and I found your chief strategy officer, Justin, and he shared with me about this amazing things that you do. So everybody knows that there is a big problem with engaging these days, engaging with your audience. What you guys do, Andrew, is amazing, but let me not take all the surprise out of it. Andrew, can you tell a little bit about yourself, ValuesCo, and how you guys are doing amazing things in the industry to help us engage with our clients?
Yeah, I mean, really the story arc of my whole career is how do you engage people in authentic ways? When I graduated from university in 2015, short after, I started a podcast called The Global Startup Movement, and spent about 5 years kind of bootstrapping that into what became a portfolio of podcast brands. And the North Star of that whole company was emerging market tech and innovation industries. But one of the core ways that we actually monetized was by basically being a service provider for most of the think tanks in DC, helping them produce their podcasts. And really a podcast in those days was at the forefront of this entirely new media dynamic, really away from this like top-down television. We tell the audience how it is and they take it to, how do you really facilitate this democratized fireside chat like format where the audience feels like they have skin in the game, their voice is being heard, there's shared ownership in what's being built. And as the host of the show, you're really facilitating this role of community convener and not talking down to people. And it was a real interesting experience trying to create that cadence both with the original brands we were producing, but also with a lot of the think tanks that I was working with. How can we get their stakeholders really skin in the game and involved and make the whole thing a more participatory experience?
I don't know. Let me interject for a second. I don't know if our audience knows, but there's a huge engagement problem. Huge. I know I personally, even at CES, I've spoken to 5-6 major brands that everybody here knows, and they have serious engagement problems and they don't know how to solve it. And you guys really found a way.
Yeah, well, that kind of like transitions into what I'm doing now. So when 2020 came around, and this kind of new era of NFTs and Web3 started to emerge, it was a big light bulb moment for me, because building those podcast brands back in the day, I was always missing the formal incentivization and reward layer for people to really, make that cadence with them formalized. So that's when I started what was then called Socialstack. We've recently rebranded to ValuesCo. And really the whole theme of what we're doing is we're turning marketing into more of a participatory experience for customers. And so it's really this question of like, how can we enable brands and nonprofits to inspire their stakeholders and their customers to action, and really reward them in authentic and meaningful ways. And so it's been 2.5 years of just iterating to get to where we are. But the way we talk about what we do is by launching reward ecosystems and reward activations. And these activations and these rewards driven ecosystems that we're launching are all built around good impact.
So give us an example, because this is really interesting, and I know some of the examples. So how do you take a brand, a brand or a nonprofit? I know you guys help so much in both of these vectors, but give me an example. How do you take a brand and help them to basically get in touch with their audience?
Yeah, I mean, I'll use a big surfing company where we work with as an example. We've been working with them for about a year now, and they've been using our platform to incentivize our customers to do all sorts of climate action related specifically to ocean cleanups. And so they incentivize customers to participate in beach cleanup days, go out and pick trash out of the ocean themselves, plant mangrove trees. And so far, they've used our platform to remove 770,000 pounds of plastic from the ocean.
I want you to say that again, because that's powerful. How many pounds of plastic they removed from the ocean?
770,000 pounds.
Wow, that's amazing. Now,
can
I ask you something? How does Web3, NFTs, we touched on that, how does that basically allow you to really have a much more engaging role in getting the people to engage with knowing exactly where the engagement happened? Do you mind sharing a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I do want to emphasize that Web3 is completely under the hood with what we're building. So it really enables brands and nonprofits to lean as far into kind of Web3 storytelling as they want to. But if you used our product as a participant, you can use the entire product and go through the whole process and not even know that you're using a Web3 product, which is I think what Web3 should be. But really, like the intention is to use the blockchain to visualize impact. And so what's really powerful about both NFTs and kind of fungible tokens is, as a participant in these action campaigns, you can take action and you can have that kind of forever reflected in your wallet based on the amount of action you're having within that campaign. And we've been really talking about this concept that we're calling action reactive NFTs. Or action reactive
NFTs,
digital collectibles, to make it a little bit more mainstream. But really, it's the ability to distribute these digital collectibles to customers and then have them evolve and change over time based on the number of actions that you're taking. And it's a really powerful cadence to establish with your customer, because it enables them to not only show off to their social communities all the impact that they're having within your community, but it creates this emotional attachment to your branded NFT, because they're investing all this kind of impact action into changing it over time. And now they have an attachment to the NFT. It's something they're super proud of to show off, which is obviously like where we need to be going. And when I say, engaging people authentically, it's really empowering people to take action towards things that they care about, making them the hero. And then you're able to use that in your top line marketing and storytelling as a company. And it's a really powerful way to authentically storytell to your customers.
I love that. I actually need to introduce you to a skincare brand that we work with, and we do, you and I do very similar things at times, but you're right. Mentioning Web3, NFTs, all these things, I think that takes from the point. The point is to create engagement with the client. So I should introduce you to this skincare company, but what we're working on with them on the blockchain is they have a great relationship with their physicians, but they have a really almost non-existent relationship with their audience. And now we're trying, and I think maybe you guys have a spot in there, trying to get their clients to actually engage with them, earn rewards, do things that they can then get things that nobody else can by doing certain actions. And that is so useful today. And I know you guys do it in some beautiful ways. I love the examples of cleaning out the oceans. Can you share a little bit more examples of how you guys help brands connect and also do good in the world?
Yeah, well, one of the interesting things about how we've thought about this is, I mentioned before, we have two core products. We have our kind of rewards ecosystem product, which is an evergreen, always on reward incentive based ecosystem that you're able to launch for your customers or your stakeholders. And then the rewards activation product is a time bound campaign product. But the way we've structured it is so we mostly have nonprofits on the platform that are launching these evergreen reward ecosystems. And so that enables brands to launch the reward activations that are able to kind of piggyback and integrate directly into the rewards ecosystems that we have on the platform. And so we have also different rewards ecosystems around a community that's focused on preserving the Amazon. We have International DJ Blondish's nonprofit Bye Bye Plastic, which is focused on single-use plastic removal in the music industry. And so brands are able to find a community that's aligned with their customers and their brand and the story that they're trying to tell. And they're able to, in a very, very turnkey way, basically fund a reward activation integrated into one of those communities. So really the theme of what I've seen successful in Web3 is answering the question of like, how can we enable a brand to get their Web3 win while de-risking it as much as possible, and really to create this like test and learn environment to do so. And I think that's a really important way that everyone that's operating in Web3 trying to bring big nonprofits or brands into the space needs to be thinking, because we're in this interesting space where, you know, most brand leaders and CMOs, they know they have to enter Web3 and they don't want to lose their job. And so it creates this really interesting space where it's like everyone's a little bit scared to take a foot in. I think even more scared than they were on social media, because there's just a lot of additional risks around security laws and just being in compliance. And, you know, I feel like across the entire space, it's generally general counsel of a company that is consistently shutting down deals. Which maybe, you know, maybe fair enough. Maybe they should be doing that, because there's such, you know, unclear guidance from the SEC, and like there's nothing is safe, like including you know, there was a liquidity pool spun up on for Ethereum on testnet, right? And so even a brand that might have been trying to do something like just experimental on testnet, boom, now that testnet Ethereum is a security. Or, you know, has a risk of being flagged as security. Obviously, there's a lot of, you know, back and forth of whether ETH is a security or not, but yeah.
So love that. So let's take the Web3 NFTs that out. If a brand wants to connect with ValuesCo and start engaging, what is the first step they need to take if they want to see what ValuesCo can do for them?
Yeah, well, I mean, a couple answers to that. You can view our case studies that we have on our website. You can email me personally, Andrew@values.co, and would love to have a conversation with anyone that's interested. But I think it really comes down to like, what does the brand want to align with? Like, you know, we're in this world now with Gen Z and millennials where 87% of consumers would, you know, want to buy products from brands that are aligning with their values. And so it's really a question of like,
sorry, 87% of consumers now want a brand that aligns with their values.
Or yeah, exactly. They're gonna spend their money with the brand that's aligned with their values. And so now more than ever, values-driven business is super important, for obvious reasons. Not, you know, it's hard to, especially in the wake of COVID, it's hard to care about a company's marketing when there are so many issues across the board that are being brought to the surface, right? And so now more than ever, it's a question for the brand of like, what do they want to stand for? What causes do they want to align themselves with? And, you know, I think net zero and the carbon stuff, like that's just checking the box, you know, like everyone's doing that. That's a red ocean at this point. And so how are you innovative, whether it's empowering your customers around mental health, civic engagement, poverty alleviation, you know, saving the Amazon, whatever it may be. It's really important that companies are deciding what they authentically want to stand for and doing so. And we help them do that.
So let's do this. I want you to give advice to brands. You've helped so many brands and you're doing amazing things. If I own a brand, what are the 2 or 3 main things I need to think about moving forward?
Well, that's a very big question that would probably be dependent on the brand that I'm talking to. And, you know, it's really this thing of know your customer, right? Like who is your customer and what do they care about? And how can you really authentically empower them to take action? Because I think a lot of younger people nowadays, they lack a feeling of agency, because the problems that we all face are so big. It's hard as an individual to like feel that there's anything that I can do about it. But as a brand, you have a lot of capital, a lot of cultural capital, a lot of financial capital, a lot of social capital. And for you to make a stand, provide ways for your customers to take action and make them feel like they're doing it in community, that's a really powerful way to get us to a much better world. And so my broad stroke answer to your question is just, you know, empower your customers with ways to take actions towards things they care about. And if you're able to do it in a way that makes them feel like they're doing it in community with other like-minded people that they care about, that's how you're really going to build an authentic brand community in 2023 and beyond.
I love that answer. Thank you. I know it was a tough question, but I think you nailed it. So you guys do very different things. I would love to maybe do a follow-up interview with you about how you separately help for-profit brands and maybe non-profit brands, and how that kind of differs with the service that you give them. But I want to thank you, Andrew. Just talking to you, I feel, makes me happier about the future that we're going to, and people like you that put these initiatives out there to help brands connect with this new technology. I think everybody needs to look at values.co. Sorry. So if everybody want to reach out to you, we'll put your email, we'll put your company website, your story, your case studies. I recommend to everybody, check out values.co, reach out to Andrew. They're doing things that all of us need to think about. I'm not saying you all need to be clients, but all of you need to look at what values.co is doing, because that is what you need to think about. So maybe a couple of final words from you, Andrew, about values.co and kind of what you guys are planning for the future.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, we're really creating this new category of ad spend. I mean, there's an entire movement to kind of decarbonize media spend. And a lot of it is, just like kind of purchasing carbon credits, which is a nuanced conversation. But that's not the thing that's going to change things. And so what I would say is, it's great that a lot of people are focused on the supply side of the issue, which is greening your supply chains, making your operations more efficient, like all these things that are making big enterprise more efficient and aligning with kind of an impact-driven future. But what's most important, in my opinion, is the demand side of the equation. Like, how are we coming together and fundamentally transforming the way human beings live, work, move, and connect with each other? And that's really where we're focused. And that's where I think brands could be doing a much more job of really stewarding that for their customers. And I'm just very passionate about it, providing tools to do that in a really authentic way that is driving meaningful change.
I love that. And I think an important part for me anyways, and maybe you agree, it's not about the technology, it's about the end goal. It's about the engagement. So the technology should not take a big spot. The goal is to engage with our clients. And if they want values to be attached with the brands that they buy in, we need to provide that for them, or else we'll lose our clients, right?
100%.
So I think we should remove technology from it and focus on what is the goals for our brand moving forward. And I think there's only one way to do it, and it's with people like you, with values.co.
Well, we're certainly not the only way to do it, but with people like me, for sure.
Yeah. Not with only values.co, but with people that would give you this utilizing this new technology to create better relationship with your clients that are looking for this.
Yeah, 100%.
Perfect. So everybody, please check out values.co. We'll also put in links for your TED Talks, a couple of your interviews. Everybody should check out what you guys are doing. And I would love to do another interview with you and check a little bit about what you're doing on nonprofits. And thank you so much for your time, Andrew.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me, Zev.
Have a good day, everybody.